From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, 5 more victims of the AK9 Kaduna-Abuja train regained freedom on Tuesday. All Progressives Congress governors meet Tinubu in Lagos, set to name campaign council. NDLEA bursts clandestine methamphetamine production lab in Lagos and Anambra. And on the foreign scene, United States House Speaker Nancy Pelosi arrives Taiwan as China threatens targeted military operations. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Now, 5 victims of the Kaduna-Abuja train attack on Tuesday regained freedom. Those released are Professor Mustafa Umar Imam, Akibu Lawal, Abubakar Ahmad Rufai, Mukhtar Shaibu, and Sidi Aminu Sharif. Daily Trust is reporting that Kaduna-based publisher Tukur Mamu, who voluntarily engaged in negotiating the release of the victims but backed out due to threats to his life, has confirmed their release. Now, in the past 7 years, kidnapped victims, especially in the insecurity-prone local government areas of Katsina State, have been forced to secure their freedom by paying ransoms. But the question many are not asking is, how does the payment of ransom affect the economic well-being of the victims? And most importantly, how has life been after the payment of the ransom? Abdullahi Yamadi met some of the families who had paid ransom to regain freedom from the hands of terrorists and asks how they are coping so far.
Turaki and his wife are among hundreds of people abducted in Katsina State since the beginning of kidnap for ransom 7 years ago. The couple sorrowfully reveals how life has been after paying 11 million naira as ransom.
I have a fertilizer factory which I normally use to blend a fertilizer to my customers. So very unfortunate now when I experience this scenario, totally I don't have enough capital that I'm investing in this my business now. The numbers of my staff now, yes, I reduced them. I don't think now if I have more than 15 staff, but before I have more than 60 of them in numbers. But now my staffs are not up to 15.
Thousands of families were forced to pay ransom by kidnappers following abductions of their loved ones. These families who are economically buoyant have been impoverished as a result of the huge sums of money they paid as ransom to kidnappers.
We were not like this before. My husband was doing very well, both at home and in his business. But since the payment of ransom to kidnappers, things are no longer at ease. Things are no longer the same.
To these families, life is so difficult that they now live from hand to mouth to keep body and soul together, meaning that their means of livelihood has gone down to the extent that they can hardly sustain themselves and meet basic needs.
The only difference between us and those in IDP camps is that we live in our house. But I can tell you without any contradiction that I work very hard to strike a balance to earn a single meal in a day.
It is a known fact everywhere in Katsina that kidnap for ransom has rendered thousands of families poor and vulnerable. Many of the victims now beg for alms on streets of major towns across the state. Beyond that, hardship has forced many households to either compromise or abandon their responsibilities. And of course, many victims now reside in unofficial IDP camps scattered across Katsina State.
You see these children, they have stopped going to school, neither Islamic nor conventional school, because I can't afford it. My plan is to enroll them as artisan apprentices.
Thousands of these families are passionately begging for help, which is apparently not forthcoming, as several appeals have been made to that effect in the past, but failed on deaf ears. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And still staying with insecurity in Katsina, incessant attacks and abductions for ransom continue to disrupt socio-economic lives of both urban and rural communities in Katsina State. Now, terrorists who now move freely in all the communities across Katsina State hit Babbaruga, Kwarim Mekoto, and Kore villages on Sunday night. The terrorists killed and abducted persons and rustled animals without any resistance from the security operatives. Once again, Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi visited the recently affected communities a few kilometers away from Katsina City and now reports.
This is the second time terrorists are attacking Babbaruga village, which is just 3 kilometers from the ancient city of Katsina. And because of their siege, they killed 2 residents and rustled an unspecified number of animals. Residents say the terrorists, numbering about 30 armed with AK-47 rifles, arrived the village around 2 a.m. on Sunday night and forced their way into the houses of their victims. Most of our families have fled this village since Monday morning to areas perceived to be safer in Katsina, and almost every one of us here passed the night either on rooftop or on top of trees. This resident, who narrowly escaped from the hands of his abductors, has a gory tales about the terrorists' inhuman behavior. My escape from the hands of terrorists is by the special grace of God. It is by Allah's intervention I escaped. We were about 11 abductees. They were pushing and beating mercilessly along footpaths in the bushes. It was dark at night and I tactfully withdrew. The sad thing is that residents claim that they put several distress calls through to security operatives, which were not responded to. After this attack, which they were left to their devices, residents say they are now living in fear of another attack. About 7 kilometers away from Babbaruga on Katsina-Batsari Road, the terrorists attack at 2:45 a.m. on the same night Kore and Kwarim Mekoto villages. Already, we have been rendered poor. I don't know what else the terrorists want from us. We have lost everything to terrorism. We have sold everything we have for the payment of ransom. We are no longer participating in farming activities. We don't go to markets and have nothing to depend on. God have mercy on us. At these communities, the terrorists abducted 7 people and dispossessed the villagers of their money and valuables while roasting over 150 animals. Farmers have been sacked from their farms, prevented from attending markets and any other form of religious or social gathering by the terrorists who are in total control of their communities. People here have lost hope as they are left at the mercy of terrorists who determine who sees the next day and who doesn't. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Ghali Baba, has allayed the fears of residents in the Federal Capital Territory and its environs concerning the recent perceived security threats. To this end, he ordered massive deployment of additional police operatives and operational assets within the Federal Capital Territory and its environs. The deployment, according to the IGP, is to solidify the security and protection of lives and property of residents, critical national assets and vulnerable facilities, as well as road users plying routes in and around the FCT. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, said the IGP gave the charge during the Force Management Team's meeting at his office on Monday, where he received general security updates on the nation. He equally charged the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Department of Operations, Bala Senchi, to supervise and manage the deployment to ensure maximum security in the FCT as well as surrounding states with a high risk of attacks resonating from the threats being speculated on the news. And now to politics, where governors on the platform of the All Progressive Congress (APC) on Tuesday meet the party's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in his Lagos residence. Appointment of Director General of the Tinubu Shetima Campaign Organization tops the agenda of the meeting. Names of former chairman of the party, Adams Oshomole, and Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai have featured as chairman and Director General. El-Rufai, who briefed newsmen after the meeting, confirmed that a decision had been taken on the DG, while other positions on the campaign council are still being discussed. The former minister of the Federal Capital Territory said the governors were in Lagos to report on the assignment given to them by Tinubu and his running mate to begin a broad consultation and develop a structure for the Presidential Campaign Council. Other governors who attended the meeting were Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano, Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi, Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa, Bello Matawalle of Zamfara, and Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos. APC National Secretary Senator Iola Omishore, Adams Oshomole, and Kabiru Masari also attended the meeting. And the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party will meet on Wednesday as part of efforts to appease Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike ahead of the 2023 general elections. Wike, who held a meeting with some PDP governors on Sunday, has expressed dissatisfaction with how the party chose its vice presidential candidate, among other issues. In a statement on Monday, Chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees, Walid Jibril, said the PDP is not in a crisis but needs to settle certain grievances. Governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Rivers State, Senator Magnus Abe, says his choice by the party to fly its flag at the 2023 contest is similar to opening a closed political space to provide the people an alternative platform. Abe was speaking during a visit to the SDP National Secretariat in Abuja. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
Magnus Abe, until recently, was a member of the All Progressives Congress (APC). He left the party after its governorship primary won by the candidate of the Rotimi Amechi's faction. But he found solace in the Social Democratic Party (SDP), who rewarded him with his governorship ticket after a standard bearer in the state quit the race voluntarily.
My appreciation and the appreciation of thousands of Rivers men and women who have joined the SDP over the last few weeks to the party for the opportunity that has been given to us to express ourselves politically in this nation. We believe that without people, a party is just a building and a flag. It's the people that make the party. And with the kind of influx of people that we're having into the SDP, it is clear that it is the emerging political force in the politics of Rivers State.
National Chairman of the SDP, Shehu Gabam, says the party is accommodating people with proven integrity if denied platform to aspire for political offices despite their track record of performance and surplus leadership credentials.
We have not made mistake, standing with the people of Rivers State. We have opened the space deliberately to ensure that credible people that matters, that believe in society, believe in the welfare of society, are given space in the political landscape of Nigeria. I've been to Rivers several times, and I know the candidate for years, for a very, very long time. We've been together in PDP, right from the scratch. They have served River diligently. They have served the country as senator very diligently. So you have a track record, and there's no party that will not be proud to have you.
The party and its governorship candidate in Rivers State are optimistic that the people of the state are yearning for alternative candidates who will take them out of their current situation, irrespective of political party affiliation. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has busted and dismantled two major laboratories in Lagos and Anambra State, where crystal methamphetamine were being produced for distribution across Nigeria and export. Chairman and Chief Executive of NDLEA, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, disclosed this on Tuesday while addressing the media on the development. Trust TV's Mardia Umar has the report.
According to the chairman and chief executive of the NDLEA, Buba Marwa, the arrest followed complaints from several communities in the region due to devastating effects the distribution and abuse of dangerous stimulant drugs were having on their youths and others.
Predominantly in the southeast geopolitical zone of the country. Many communities in the area had cried out for help because of the devastating effects the distribution and abuse of the dangerous stimulant drug was having on their youths and others.
The CEO said efforts in the past 7 months against the cartel behind the methamphetamine scourge has led to the arrest and exposure of syndicate operation of these drug dealers.
I am pleased to inform the public today that after months of painstaking intelligence gathering, diligent tracking and coordinated offensive action, we recorded a breakthrough on Saturday, July 30th, 2022, when officers and men of the agency successfully busted 2 methamphetamine manufacturing facilities called meth laboratories.
He also speaks on the devastating effect of these illicit drugs as unsuspecting members of the public are mostly affected by the menace.
It's very important to note that the waste from methamphetamine production is dangerous to the ecosystem. The chemicals are toxic, and once they seep into the soil, they contaminate the water table from which surrounding wells and boreholes draw their water.
The NDLEA boss has said they will continue to deploy available assets to track down illicit drug barons and manufacturers. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has ended a week-long awareness campaign against online trafficking in persons and the use of technology by traffickers to recruit victims. This year's theme focused on the role of technology as a tool that can both enable and impede human trafficking. The report.
The awareness campaign kicked off on the 26th of July with an expose on recent methods adopted by traffickers to lure victims for the purposes of organ harvesting, sexual exploitation, and forced labor. Director General NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, said there have been a rise in the use of social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and others for the recruitment of victims of trafficking. The event is attended by different foreign missions in Nigeria, NGOs partnering with NAPTIP, security agencies, and students in some tertiary institutions in the country. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, here represented, congratulated NAPTIP and other stakeholders on the milestone achieved so far, adding that fighting human trafficking is a collective responsibility.
The day is set aside specially to raise awareness on the agony of human trafficking victims, promote and protect the rights of such victims, and mobilize political will and resources to address trafficking in persons as a problem of global concern.
The Vice President also speaks about 3 policy documents that will serve and stir important conversations and reduce cases of human trafficking in Nigeria. A participant who is also the Executive Director of Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation, WATCLAF, Imabong Ladipo Sanusi, speaks on the challenges encountered when dealing with issues of human trafficking in Nigeria.
We've heard so much that parents, guardians, and families even sell off properties to make sure that their victims, their children, go out of the country. They don't know what they go through. They don't understand that where they are going, the grass is never green. On the other side, it is green where you water it. The issue of coming back with mental health problems and become dysfunctional. That is very painful.
This year's theme focuses on the role of technology as a tool that can both enable and impede human trafficking. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
16 persons were said to have died, while 5 others injured in a ghastly auto crash that occurred in the early hours of Tuesday morning at the Ekpe area of Lagos State. The fatal crash involved 2 vehicles, a white bus and an articulated truck. It was learned that the bus allegedly rammed into the truck from behind around 3 a.m. due to poor visibility. The Sector Commander, Federal Road Safety Corps, Lagos Command, Olusegun Ogunbumide, who confirmed the crash, blamed it on the recklessness on the part of the drivers. You're watching Trust TV News Hour. And still to come, after the break, what gives you access to the reopened Millennium Park? Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Daily, we bring you updates around politics.
People like you who are very young, you have no future. Anybody now who is 30 years, if what is happening to them continues, by the time you are 60, you will have no country.
The DPO of a particular unit does not have to wait until the commissioner tells him what to do within his jurisdiction.
We have political parties on the ground. Some of them have been there for years. But they themselves, in their own sober moments, they know that this country is not the one they're expecting to run.
Policy and governance.
Are you saying the NBS is lying?
I'm saying to you very clearly that the NBS has a serious problem with accurate data till today.
The 5th Assembly, as well as the 7th Assembly, their own attempt were unproductive.
Emergence of the Taliban has simply emboldened terror groups globally.
There is a lot of attention with regards to security developments in Nigeria.
On Daily Politics, we interrogate issues, holding the actors to account, bearing in mind all the sides.
We heard that in some places now, people have to go and pay tax, not to the local government, not to the state, but to criminals.
Nobody can come to your house and kidnap you without information.
If this country is bleeding, it is bleeding because we have failed to educate our young.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now, a recap of our top stories. 5 more victims of AK9 Kaduna-Abuja train regained their freedom on Tuesday. And All Progressives Congress governors meet Tinubu in Lagos, set to name campaign council. Nigerian students have been reacting to the extension of the strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, by another 4 weeks. Musa Luka reports that the extension is seen by some students as an act of insensitivity by the federal government and the union to the plight of students. The report.
News of the 4-week extension broke on Monday after 5 months of the action, which began on 14 February this year. President of the union, Emmanuel Oshodoke, who disclosed this via a statement on Monday, said the decision was to give the government enough time to resolve all outstanding issues with the lecturers. The prolonged strike has made some students look for part-time jobs as alternatives, while others remain idle. Some students residing within Abuja told Trust TV what they have been doing since the beginning of the strike.
Yeah, I'm currently doing video editing though, but that's not what I signed up for. It's due to this ASUU strike. I had to get into that. It's not fair.
This strike isn't really affecting me, but it's quite disturbing because I'm a final year student and just few signatures left and I should be a graduate. And I don't know why I should still be at home by this time doing nothing. Okay, apart from the work that I'm doing, if I don't have a job, what of others that don't have a job? What would they be doing in their houses? Like people like us that are final year students, what should we be doing? Just sitting down doing nothing.
Some parents lamented the impact of the strike on their budget and expressed the hope that the strike will be called off soon.
It affects us parents very much because by now my children are supposed to have graduated, but 3 of them are still at home since two supposed to graduate last year, and due to all this incessant strike here and there of ASUU. And there is nothing we can do. We cannot fight government, but it's very unfortunate for what we are experiencing in our country.
The ASUU strike is affecting the whole region, precisely as in a taxi. Like my junior one in school, they have been abandoned in the village. They have been abandoned there. Nothing for them, no school, nothing. I mean, so it's also affecting us that sponsor them, believing that okay, with so time I think we might have done with this one, and then know 1 or 2 things to forge ahead with.
Many believe that the heightened insecurity in the country may not be unconnected to the strike, as the many idle hands of Nigerian youth may just have been employed, albeit negatively. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The National Population Commission, NPC, says it has put modalities in place to ensure an effective count come 2023. The NPC stated this at a media briefing in Abuja. Trust TV's Fatima Musa has the report.
The chairman of the National Population Commission, Nasir Isaac Ora, said the commission will emphasize the use of technology to transform the process of information and data collection for 2023.
It's been manual. We are digitizing the process, and we have really gone far. We create a database and eventually improve on the way you can verify some of these statistics.
The technical advisor of the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, Collins, said there is need to improve the next census to transform data collection and help change the narratives.
The use of technology and methodological innovations to improve quality of data collection and timeliness of the results. And Nigeria's 2023 census strictly falls under that framework.
The commissioner representing Yobe State, May Aliyu Muhammad, emphasized that the exercise will be all-inclusive without resources to ethnicity or religion.
It was raised at the palace that they heard that the questionnaire contains about religion. And I assured them that there is nothing about religion and the ethnicity. All these 2 issues were avoided for obvious reasons.
The Director General, Garba Abari, said the partnership between the National Orientation Agency and the National Population Commission is to take the message to the grassroots.
What we intend to achieve from this partnership and the collaboration is basically to take the messaging to the grassroots. Like I said earlier on during my opening remarks, that our country is embarking on two very important national events.
We all know the National Orientation Agency. It is that agency saddled with the responsibility of always enlightening Nigerians about government activities. It is a relationship that has been there. We just rekindle it.
The chairman said the 2023 census will be different as one does not need to travel to their state of origin to be counted, noting that those challenges will be addressed using technology. Fatima Musa, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And women in the country have been called upon to continue helping one another to enable them contribute their quota to the growth of women in the society. Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talin, made the call at an event in Abuja. The report.
The Minister of Women Affairs, who was represented by Director General National Census for Women's Development, Asabe Bashir, reiterated that women should make it their priority to help their fellow women, not only financially, but morally, in order to curb the menace of redundancy among women.
Gender-based violence remains the most oppressive form of gender inequality. It is one of the most serious threats to the health and safety of women and girls, and it is deeply rooted in patriarchy. Its devastating consequences are felt at social, economic, political, and personal levels because of the grievous harm inflicted on victims.
A woman activist, Mariam Booker, said 99% of girls within the age bracket of 11 to 16 years in Nigeria have experienced unwanted sexual approaches through chat or other social platforms, hence the need for women to adequately armed with the right information and resources.
We must empower women and girls and make them the agents of change. Build their capital, build their self-assets. Let them be the voices that speak out. We must use a human rights approach because it is the fundamental human rights to bodily autonomy, to bodily integrity, to access to health. We must create and sustain Women and Girl Network.
UNFPF representative Ulamula said the call for women empowerment was necessary in order to awake the giants in women as well as guarantee proper upbringing of their children.
So the right that any woman has is to decide if and when she wants to have children and how many children she wants. And most women in Nigeria would want to have children, but most women would also like to take their time having them. So I would advise women to think about when do you want to have children, how many children do you want to have, and if you decide you want to wait and stretch the time, get access to family planning. Because
the theme of it, Promote My Sister, says it all. It means we should be our own keepers, we should be our own protectors, rather than having such a toxic or having such a toxic environment where you have women. We believe that women should be the promoters of one another. We should be able to uplift one another. We should be able to encourage one another.
In Abuja, Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News.
The chairman of Adavi local government area of Kogi State, Honorable Joseph Umuya Salami, has uncovered the parents of the baby dumped in the street of Ogaminana a few days ago and reunited him with his family. It was uncovered by Daily Trust that the biological parents of the week-old baby dumped him on the street, but with the help of community leaders, concerned citizens, security agencies and intelligence reports, the parents were identified. According to a statement by the Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to the Adavi local government, the chairman, who earlier agreed to adopt the baby through the Social Welfare Department, invited both parents to discuss whether they would want to keep the baby or not. The parents were sorry for abandoning the baby and decided that they wanted to keep the child. The statement further added that after a joint decision between the Executive Chairman and the Social Welfare Department of Adavi local government, the child was given to the parents. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, says it has identified 233 local government areas in 32 states and the FCT that have been predicted to experience flooding in 2022. Mustafa Ahmed, Director General of the agency, disclosed this at a national consultative workshop on 2022 flood preparedness Mitigation and Response, organized by the agency on Tuesday in Abuja. Ahmed, who said the workshop was one of the steps outlined by the agency to bring stakeholders together, added that it was also to collectively prepare and provide strategies to strengthen flood risk mitigation and effective response. He added that the state emergency management agencies, as well as local emergency management committees, must be proactive to ensure effective and efficient flood preparedness, mitigation, and response. Federal Capital Territory Minister Mohammed Bello has reopened the popular Millennium Park 2 years after its closure due to the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2020. The park was closed down at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, was developed and donated to the residents of the FCT some years ago by a private company. The minister lamented that almost 95% of the parks in Abuja have totally derailed from the FCTA policy. He appealed to the media and the public to support the FCTA's efforts towards rediscovering Abuja and urged those opposing the FCTA park policy to have a rethink and support the administration in the journey to transform all parks. The Federal Capital Territory's foremost recreational sport, the Millennium Park, has reopened almost 2 years after the Mohammed Bello-led FCT administration shut down activities in order to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, to access the reopened parks, fun lovers will have to present COVID-19 vaccination cards or take on-the-spot COVID jabs for those who are yet to be vaccinated. Meanwhile, a Nigerian has tested positive for monkeypox in Delhi, the Indian capital. His case brought the total number of infected people in the Asian country to 6. According to Indian officials, the 35-year-old, who is now in a government hospital, is a Delhi resident and has no recent international travel history. The World Health Organization recently declared the monkeypox virus a global health emergency. You're still watching Trust TV News Hour. The news continues after this break. Do stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now, with the reopening of the popular Millennium Park in the FCT, access to the park will have fun lovers required to present COVID-19 vaccination cards or to take a rapid on-the-spot COVID jab for those who are yet to be vaccinated. Here's the report.
Established over 2 decades ago, Abuja's Millennium Park has been the go-to spot for outdoor fun seekers in the nation's capital. The park was, however, closed as part of efforts to contain the outbreak of COVID-19 in the FCT. Popular for cinematography, events, parties, among other social activities, the Millennium Park left operators and businesses linked to its operation counting losses due to its temporary closure.
Since then, we are in hardship. The park, this is where we earn our living as a photographer. At least when we come, we get home with small thing. But since the lockdown, over some years now, we are trying to survive, no way. But we thank God that the FCT minister came yesterday and opened the park. We pray God to give us our own.
It makes me makes me really happy, actually, and the kids, of course, too, because Abuja is not offering so much or so many places to spend vacation or have a nice afternoon. So therefore, we just heard about the announcement that it's reopened, and suddenly checked it out, and really happy that Natura opened it again. Yeah.
Although operations in the park have been restored and patronage gradually gaining boost, the quest to eradicate the spread of COVID-19 in a public place is still paramount for the FCT administration, as access requires compulsory vaccinations or presentation of vaccination cards. Meanwhile, there are calls on the park's management to maintain hygiene, provide services and initiate activities that are easily accessible to the public.
We look forward to keep coming here and for it to remain as clean as it is now and as taken care of as it is now. And just take care of it, keep it maintained, and we're very happy to keep coming back. It's beautiful to have this freedom of being able to do what we want in an open space, but just keep it clean and have some accessible bathrooms and just somebody who's selling some drinks and it would be fine.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's really cool to be outside and not the whole time in the house, and it's cool to go with the dog out, and there's so much place you can play with him, and yeah, it's really cool.
Upon its reopening, the FCT administration commended the management of the park for upholding the park's international standards with regulations on opening and closing time, perimeter fence, lights, security and toilets, among others, in line with the FCT park policy. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The presidency has intervened in the controversy raging between the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Limited over the dwindling fortune of the Naira. The CBN on Friday blamed the non-remittance of dollars to foreign reserves by NNPC as the reason for the plunge of the Naira in the official and parallel markets. At the time of the allegation, the Naira traded for 700 Naira to a dollar at the parallel market and 415 Naira to a dollar at the official market. But in what could be seen as contradicting the CBN claim, a document from the NNPC on Sunday showed that the company remitted a total of $2.7 billion into its accounts with the CBN from January to June this year. Financial experts and some Nigerians were taken aback at the counterclaims by the federal government institutions, with some of them describing the development as an embarrassment to the country. Now let's join Chamun Dabeng for business news.
The federal government maintains that it did not increase the retail price of premium motor spirits, also known as petrol, above the set price of 165 naira per litre. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Temipre Silva, insisted that the government had not increased the price of PMS while speaking on the sidelines of the Stakeholders Consultation Forum of Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulations that was hosted by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, in Abuja. He insisted that oil marketers were responsible for the increase in the price of the commodity, which is currently between 175 naira and 230 naira per litre, depending on where it is purchased. The government, however, did not explain why it was not enforcing the approved price. When questioned further about the lack of enforcement of the government-approved price and the lack of any action against the marketers, Silva responded that he did not know about monitoring exercise. In Nigeria, night flights are impractical due to a lack of funding and security issues, among others. This was revealed by the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, Captain Musa Nuhu, on Tuesday in Ikeja, Lagos State. Citing data from the African Development Bank in 2019, Nuhu said that Nigeria would need to spend more than 1.5 trillion naira to close the infrastructural deficit at airports. According to him, Nigeria's airports' inadequate infrastructure also contributed to the difficulties encountered during night flight operations. Nuhu further stated that any airport that intended to operate after dusk needed to make significant financial investments and comply with crucial requirements for the safe landing and takeoff of aircrafts. He specified several requirements, including the availability of ancillary service providers, enough supply of power, and an adequate number of qualified employees. Nuhu issued a warning that the absence of necessary infrastructure could have disastrous effects on nighttime operations. Air travelers continue to complain about the sharp increase in ticket costs on internal routes, where a one-way flight can cost up to 150,000 naira. Due to the increase in ticket costs, many air travelers have either changed their plans or used alternative means of transportation. Airlines have attributed the development to the Jet A1's ballooning price as well as increasing operational costs. There are concerns that the price of jet fuel, which was less than 200 naira per litre last year, may reach 1,000 naira due to the simmering Russia-Ukraine conflict that has disrupted the oil industry supply chain. The suspension of Dana Air flights by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, and the operational shutdown by aero contractors made the situation worse. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
President Muhammadu Buhari has said the challenges of insecurity across the globe cannot be contained by one single country. The president said this on Tuesday while receiving letters of credence from the Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ambassador James Kingston Christoph, and Ambassador of Mexico to Nigeria, Juan Alfred Miranda Ortiz. Buhari, who hailed the collective efforts of nations towards tackling security challenges across the globe and within Nigeria, called for more collaboration to check terrorism, banditry, and insurgency. He told the diplomats that successes in taming insecurity had been recorded through collaboration across borders and more could be achieved. In his remarks on behalf of the ambassadors, the Canadian High Commissioner thanked the President for the ceremony of accepting the letters of credence and pledged to work closely with ministers and officials to start a progressive relationship.
I am pleased to welcome the High Commissioner Designate of Canada and the Ambassador Designate of Mexico and their families to the occasion of the presentation of letters of credence. As you are aware, today's event paves the way for the formal assumptions of your representational duties as High Commissioner and Ambassador of your respective countries to Nigeria. The task before you requires you both to build on the successes of your predecessors and further make efforts in the expansion and advancement of the cordial bilateral relations and cooperation.
And on the foreign scene, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi arrived in Taiwan late Tuesday, defying Chinese warnings against visiting the self-ruled island that Beijing claims as its territory and setting the stage for a sharp escalation in tensions between China and the United States. Pelosi's plane landed at Songshan Airport in Taipei just before 11 p.m. local time, wearing a face mask. She was greeted by Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu and staff from the American Institute in Taiwan, the de facto U.S. Embassy in Taipei. Pelosi's visit has enraged China, which for years has sought to diplomatically isolate the island and views such exchanges with high-level foreign dignitaries as support for Taiwanese independence. The Chinese Communist Party claims Taiwan, a self-governing democracy that is home to 23 million people, as its territory, despite never having ruled it. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has pledged to reunify Taiwan with China by force, if necessary. And at least 4 people have died during protests over the cost of electricity in a South African township on Monday. Residents angry at the high cost of basic services barricaded roads with burning tires and set ablaze a municipal building in Tembisa Township, northeast of the financial hub, Johannesburg. Local municipal police spokeswoman Kelebogile Tepa said 2 people were killed in alleged police shooting after the protest broke out in the morning. Tepa said 2 more bodies had been found near the entrance of the burned building, bringing the total death toll to 4. She, however, said police are yet to confirm what caused the deaths and investigations are underway. And finally, in sports, Nigeria's Taiwo Liadi has lifted a combined 216 kilograms to win silver for Team Nigeria in the 76 kilogram weightlifting category at the Commonwealth Games. This is the 5th medal won by Team Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games. Liadi, who competed in the women's 76 kilogram weightlifting event, set a junior Commonwealth Games record to finish 2nd, behind England's Maya Layla, who set a new Commonwealth Games record in the clean and jerk with a lift of 128 kilograms. Now let's join Adeni Ajishafe for more sports news.
The 2022 edition of the Bauchi Polo Club, in conjunction with Nigerian Polo Federation MPF Polo Tournament, galloped off on Monday at Colin A.D. Umar Retired Polo Ground in Bauchi. The polo teams will compete for honors in 4 different entries in the polo event that will last 6 days before winners emerge. The major trophies are grouped into 4, namely Sarikin Fulani Cup, Tafawa Balewa Cup, Emirates Cup and Governor's Cup. 6 teams competed on the opening day with much display to the admiration of polo fans in 3 games. In Match 1, MMD Polo Ranch defeated Bauchi Ubandawaki 5-2 in Match 2. A&O Farms 2 lost 3-4 against Max Green, while the third match saw Percentage scored 4 on-reply goals against A&O Farms 1. Organizers hope to use the event to attract more participants, especially the younger ones within and outside Nigeria, to go into polo sport. Assistant Secretary General, Nigerian Polo Federation, who doubles as Secretary Bauchi Polo Club, Haruna Ningi, says polo sport needs sponsorship for the sport to grow as more people will go into polo, if well harnessed.
Polo, yes, when you call polo, people will think that no, until when you have money you can play polo. No. Polo is a game of passion. It's the only sport that you can spend millions of naira and you can get trophy of maybe 150,000. So it's a game of passion. It's just passion, and everything with horse. Everything associated with horse is a passion. So I call on people of Bauchi, the surrounding area, to come and watch the horse. Generally is originated from the north. So I see no reason why people would come and invest in this game. So I call on investors to come and invest in follow games, so at least to attract more players. It's a game we are spending a lot of money. And with any sport in the world, there's no any sport where there's no sponsorship. But I just in Bauchi, like Bauchi Soccer is sponsoring the tournament. Although even the government now, they have plenty of responsibilities. So at least the private sectors will support the government so that the game will continue.
Action continues in the 6-day event with teams across Nigeria participating at Bauchi Polo Tournament. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And before we go, here is a kicker. Northwest China's Xinjiang Autonomous Region is home to some of the most unaccustomed instruments in the country. Now, this ancient village is a must-see for musical enthusiasts. Let's take a look.
Ama resimdeki bolsa meningki bovam boldu. Biz 4 avlod shu chalg'oy yasab davomlashtirib kelyapmiz. Biz 4 akufka shu mamlakatniki har qaysi joylarga shu yasagan chalg'ularimizni setib chiqarib, o'zimizning kirimizni oshirib boy bo'ldik.
我们村已经有150多年民族乐器制作历史，2000年被国务院命名为中国新疆民族乐器村。在这个村子里，有100多个工匠从事民族乐器制作，主要生产27大类50多个品种，人均年收入可达到5万元以上。
And that wraps up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Have a good evening.